Welcome back to A People's Guide to Publishing. I'm Joe Beal, the founder and CEO of Microcosm Publishing and Distribution. I'm also the author of A People's Guide to Publishing, which distills what I've learned from selling millions of books over the past 25 years.
I'm Ellie Blue. I'm the editorial and marketing director here at Microcosm. We are an independent mid-list publisher based in Portland, Oregon. We have 14 employees, over 650 titles in print with 20 to 40 new books per year, and we distribute thousands of titles from other publishers.
We started this podcast so that we can share what we've learned with newer publishers so that you can learn from our mistakes.
Or perhaps you just want to better understand the publishing industry.
This week, we are going to talk about corporate mergers. Or maybe you have like a couple $1 billion lying around and want to buy a publishing company. Contemplative stare.
This should have been our Halloween episode.
Boo!
They're coming to get you.
Spooky.
They're coming to get your books.
Death.
What brings corporate mergers to your mind, Joe?
Because, so this is the interesting thing that we haven't really talked about. We've talked a lot about small presses that want to sell their press, and we've talked about buying a press, but we haven't really talked about, that other nominal 44% of publishing, the big five, or as it appears to be soon, the big four?
Well, let's see. So, yeah, one of our giant older siblings is up for grabs, Simon Schuster. It's for sale.
And by grabs, literally the statement from the parent company, Viacom, who you might know from, their television business, literally referred to Simon & Schuster as a non-essential component of our business.
Simon & Schuster being like one of the biggest publishing houses in the world, right?
Yeah.
It's tiny compared
Top five.
to its corporate overlords.
Mm-hmm. But basically they're saying these billions of dollars in income are not worth the billions of dollars of investment. Get rid of it.
Sometimes I get a reminder like this of how small of a business publishing really is in the grand scheme of things, and then I feel very humble and insignificant.
And this is not the first time this has happened. So, Simon & Schuster was owned, it's had a series of these kind of owners. And this happens every so often, because a lot of these companies are owned by holding investment firms. And, so periodically those shareholders are like, what are we doing with this thing? Let's put our dollars into something else so we can get a bigger return. And that kind of how that goes.
Yeah.
And then also fascinating in the news this week, Houghton Mifflin Harcourt is primarily a educational publisher, meaning they mostly make textbooks, but they also have a trade sales division, meaning they also make books for bookstores.
And they're like the big independent, right? Big independent.
They're, a multi-billion-dollar industry as well. I mean, it's not...
But they're not owned by...
I think you might be thinking of Norton.
Oh, okay. That's funny. I thought Houghton Mifflin was...
I'm sorry, it's Houghton Mifflin.
Houghton Mifflin. You gotta learn how to pronounce all these, Victorian people's names if you want to get by in publishing.
Yes. But, I mean, it's depends what you define as independent, when you're owned by Viacom, you're not independent, but, when you're owned by, a billionaire, are you independent? When you're owned by, an investment holdings firm, are you independent?
Right.
It's really kind of the greater question of where you slice that. But so their trade sales division is for sale, which confusingly and oddly was the department that was not at a loss.
But I think if you've watched our past episodes on selling your publishing company, you want to sell the part that people want to buy is the part that has value.
Yeah.
That tends to be.
And my read, Joe Beal, does represent the views of this podcast to at least a 49% degree. But
we'll arm wrestle over that 1%.
Is that they know that what they're good at is making textbooks, and they know that textbooks are down this year because obviously schools are down and library sales are down and all these, all the other tertiary aspects of academic publishing are down, not because they don't know how to do it. They very well know how to make textbooks, and that will probably have a serious bounce back over the next few years.
So, yeah, we have 2 big publishing companies for sale, and do we have any bidders?
We do. Bum, bum, bum.
Who are the lucky potential owners of these
The suitors. Wait, I haven't watched The Bachelor to know what the format of the show is to make those jokes here, but...
It feels more like a Jane Austen kind of situation, honestly.
Appropriate. And so...
Miss Penguin marries Mr. Random.
As viewer of this program, Will pointed out, the name Random Penguin House would have been a much better name, so it's a great opportunity for them to revisit that now.
Thanks, Will. We should listen to you.
Penguin Random House is a interested buyer of Simon & Schuster. I don't know what their complicated name would be, but should that happen, that would give that one... Wait, it's kind of complicated because Penguin Random House is actually owned by 2 different investment firms.
My head is spinning.
Because it's so big. And they would actually control in the neighborhood of 30% of U.S. publishing if that was to happen.
Wow.
Which would be pretty wild.
Is that even legal?
Well, that is... I am not the U.S. federal government, nor do I even play a lawyer or a doctor on television, but that is the kind of thing that happens after they come to terms and have an agreement, is then the U.S. federal government looks into it and says, like, is this a monopoly? Like, does this control undue influence? And, since longtime viewers of this program will recall that there are literally hundreds of thousands of publishing houses in the United States. So given that there are hundreds of thousands, the fact that one company could potentially own 30% of the market is pretty wild.
So other than Mixed Penguin Random, who's the other suitor for Simon & Schuster?
Ooh, Mixed Penguin Random, that's pretty good.
That was like an MX dot. That's the gender neutral.
Oh, I see.
This is a modern romance.
You're personifying our suitor. So, maybe not surprisingly, and I swear I actually joked about this in the People's Guide to Publishing book, that Simon & Schuster and HarperCollins would merge. I want to say that I actually made that joke. Somebody fact check me and get in touch and tell me how wrong or right I was. But I want to tell you that I predicted this merger.
So HarperCollins is also a suitor, I take it.
They are, which is owned by News Corp, everybody's favorite source of conservative propaganda. And so...
so it is sort of a battle for the soul of Simon & Schuster. I mean, Simon & Schuster has been in the news a lot in the last few years for being the ones who are willing to publish any random wingnut conservative Nazis memoir.
Yes.
I shouldn't say that. That's an exaggeration.
Not any.
Don't sue me.
Just a few select, well-moneyed ones.
And they did, backpedal on some of them after their other authors left as an outcry. But, so if they go with Penguin Random House, that might change things.
But so, the thing is that, Stephen King is the crown jewel of Simon & Schuster. And he's not exactly, speaking out when they make a book contract with some... edge wingnut, he's kind of going about his business and living world in the old ways, versus HarperCollins would probably it's an interesting thing because HarperCollins leans more on the fiction side, generally speaking, versus Penguin Random House is kind of strong in all markets and aspects, and they have so many divisions and imprints that you would be hard-pressed to find something they didn't do well. And I don't give praise lightly, you will know if you are a longtime viewer of this program. But, so that's sort of the other thing of, we've talked about this a bit, conglomeration is the strength and the future of publishing, so you really... It's the same reason, distributors buy other distributors and, cannibalize the best staff and make it into, a super distributor. Because that's where the money is, and the money is in volume and numbers. It's not necessarily in quality or in terms of like well-curated selection process. It's really like the more you have that like meets a minimum viability threshold, you're going to be successful, you know.
Right.
And so
if you wanted to get jaded today, listen to this podcast.
But it's not, I don't know, I feel like that's your door to your success, not necessarily like you could get bummed out at whatever you want, and you will. But point being, that's how you win.
So you're advising readers to do mergers and acquisitions.
I'm saying if you have
listeners
$2.9 billion in your pocket, buy Simon Schuster, because that will be the best thing that you can do for your publishing company, bar none.
That's true. It does put a lot of like institutional strength behind your backlist.
Among other, and you know, because it's just like selling alongside those books, it solves a lot of problems that are slightly too complicated to get into in 10 minutes, you know. But scale and volume are the name of the game.
All right, friends, I think we will leave you with that to chew upon.
And if you're a little more pinched in the pocketbook, check out Houghton Mifflin Harcourt and their trade division to purchase. Thanks for joining us once again.
Please send your questions to podcast@microcosmpublishing.com so we can answer them on future episodes.
And please give us 5 stars on iTunes and everywhere else that podcasts are reviewed.
You can find us on the internet at microcosm.pub,
on Twitter at Microcosm,
on Facebook at Microcosm Publishing,
on Instagram at Microcosm_pub,
and here in Portland, Oregon on North Williams Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful week.